Hey everybody, Travis Bowman here. Let's unbox this really cool controller by NYXI, NYXI, I believe that's how you pronounce that. This is a controller designed for the Nintendo Switch. We've got a purple, almost like a GameCube-esque design with the Xbox controller layout, which is also very, very nice. So as we're unboxing this thing, let me read what we've got going on. On the back of the box here, we've got the joysticks, which are a Hall effect to prevent your driftage that might happen over time. We've got some vibration built in and an ergonomic design with the actual controller itself. And we've got what they call a cool game atmosphere with these RGB fiber optic lights in the controller itself, which is kind of customizable with a bunch of different colors. And that's also really, really cool for when you're gaming in the dark. So with this controller, you can have it plugged up to your Switch and play in handheld mode, or you can do what I prefer and play it when the Switch is actually docked. Now this controller, as you can see, is asleep right now. I've had it sitting here for a second. So to wake this guy up, you can just press the home button over here and press one of these buttons over here, and now we're awake. You can change the colors of this, by the way. If you hold this T for turbo, also comes with turbo, if you're into that sort of thing. If you hold your turbo and click in your stick, you can change your color scheme, which is really cool. They got a lot of different colors, and you can mix and match or keep them the same. I'll just keep them the same for this video, but you can do the same thing on the right side if you want. Another thing to note about this particular controller are the buttons. You've got your A, B, X, and Y, and it's going to be kind of hard to get on camera, but it's almost like you're looking at it through like a magnifying glass, the way that they're kind of blown up really big. And as far as like the feel of this controller, it really kind of reminds me of some of the Retro Bit or Retro Fighters controllers as far as the plastic. It's kind of a thin feeling plastic, but at the same time it's still really sturdy, so I don't feel like I'm going to break this very easily. That's a positive thing in my book because it kind of cuts down on the weight. So we can take these apart just like any other Switch controller, and I've got my Switch right here. We can just snap them on. And now they're on. Press L and R, and we can get back into the game. I've got some Mario Tennis, one of my favorite Switch games. Let me see if I can see from this angle. It plays very nice, and I don't know if you can hear it from this angle. The controller isn't that loud. It makes a little bit of noise. The buttons make a little bit of noise, but it's nothing too noticeable, too terrible. I'm very confident that I could play using this controller at night without really disturbing anybody around me. In the box, you've got the controller itself. You've got this partition for when you want to actually play it in docked mode. And you've also got your USB-C charging cable. And on either side of this controller, you've got a port to where you can charge that, which is also kind of cool. Preferably, it would have been interesting if they just did one charging port on this little centerpiece, so that way you could just charge both of them at the same time without having to use an extra cable. I don't even know if something like that's possible, but just something that I thought I'd mention. A really cool part about this controller, just as a side note, is these little dimples in the bottom of the controller here, which you can use to stand your controller up like that. It's been really cool to have that as somebody who's making videos on YouTube, because bam, there it is. You can just set it up like that and get some really cool shots of it. And I've really enjoyed that aspect. The main reason that I'm into controllers like this for the Switch is very simple. I am not a big fan of the Joy-Cons. I never have been. And that might be controversial, but these things, they're just gimmicky in my opinion. And the main thing is the D-pad, or the lack thereof. I hate having to use these little buttons to play like a 2D game on my Switch. And yeah, the sticks are okay, but they're just really small. You know, I'm a 30-year-old man, and I've got some big hands, and this just never did it for me. I never really got into that too much. So I actually got into this Hori controller here, and I'm sure you guys have seen these before. And these are actually a pretty nice alternative. However, they don't have vibration. You have to have these docked to the Switch to actually use them, which is all well and good. I've actually used these quite a bit, and I've really liked them a lot. One thing to note, over time, it's going to be hard to see on camera, but these are plastic sticks up in here, and as you use them, they will rub up against the other plastic. Let's see if you can get that focused, and it's doing a little bit of damage to the actual stick there, and over time, if I continue to use this, it would probably get a little worse, which isn't necessarily a super bad thing, but definitely something worth noting. So if we take this guy apart here, we've got kind of like a little bit of a metal ring around the stick, so when that touches the plastic, it's not going to do as much grinding and grinding of that plastic and grinding it down and all that good stuff. So I actually like that a lot, and that's on both of your sticks. Yeah, this is kind of like a GameCube inspired design here, and I'm really digging it. I like it a lot. They have a green version of this as well, but in my opinion, this controller is nicer looking. I really like the purple and the GameCube scheme. So other than that, you know, the main things with these third-party controllers that you have to be worried about is the battery life and the overall functionality. So far, so good, man. This controller is really, really nice, and it's actually my preferred way to play the Switch, especially compared to some of these alternatives. I've played a lot of games with it, and the D-pad is actually kind of solid. I know a lot of you are going to be interested in what the D-pad is like. It's a little stiff, but nothing too crazy. And you know, with these controllers that are third party, sometimes they get a little, I don't know what the right term for this is, a little wobbly up in here. But you know, that's to be expected. It's nothing too crazy. I don't feel like I'm gonna break this thing off while I'm playing it. Another thing that they've included, which isn't exactly a strange thing anymore, is these extra buttons on the back that you can map to whatever control that you want, and it's nice to have that option. But truth be told, on these controllers, I never really use the turbo or those back buttons to map anything. I've never found a game, I guess, that I really want to mess with that much. So these buttons feel really nice and solid. I haven't had any issues with these buttons in particular. They're a little clicky versus mushy. They're just a hair clicky, and that's okay. It's like I said before, it's not really loud or anything like that. It actually feels pretty good. The D-pad feels pretty good. The sticks are really great, man. I really like the sticks on this controller. They feel really nice and solid. Like, I'm not gonna have any issues with the drift, which is nice that they've kind of upgraded that for this Hyperion Pro controller here. I really do like this controller. And to be clear, NYXI sent me this controller for review, and they were emailing me and asking me if I was interested in doing it, and I said yes, of course, as long as I can tell you my opinions and have my own opinions in this video, and they sent it to me, so all credit to them. Another thing that these controllers don't seem to have, especially when we're talking about the old these Hori pads over here, the lack of vibration. Now with this controller, you have that vibration intact, and there's these little bitty baby buttons on the back here that you can use to adjust that level of vibration, and that's really cool. Just to have vibration in a controller like this, and like I said, my biggest pet peeve, and I don't even know if this is going to be possible, but just to have one USB-C charging cable right there would be ideal for me, instead of having to charge them individually or have them docked on the Switch to have them charged, which again, it's a very minor gripe. The only reason that I would like that is because I would prefer to play the Switch docked to my television, and I just love this controller, man. The design of it is really, really comfortable. It's kind of thinner up top and it gets wider as you go down, and it's just a super comfortable controller to hold in your hands, and I don't feel like I'm gonna break it or anything. It feels really nice. It kind of melts in your hands. almost like the same feeling that you get from an actual GameCube controller. Obviously, they are not the same kind of design, but you can get a GameCube styled controller from NYXI as well, and I haven't checked that out personally. This is the only one that I've had my hands on, but a lot of people seem to like that controller too. So I've spent quite a bit of time with this controller since I received it, and I really do like it, man. It's really cool. It's a really cool controller, and you know, the bonuses that aren't necessary that they chose to add, like changing the colors and stuff, and the vibration and all that good stuff. It's a nice addition, and it kind of looks cool in the dark. I'll be honest with you, before I received this controller, I hadn't touched my Switch in a long time because I was busy with, you know, the Steam Deck and other things. But now that I have this controller in my possession, I'm gonna go back and play some of those Switch exclusive games that I haven't played in quite some time, like Mario Tennis. There's a bunch of them too. I think I'm gonna pick up that new Mario game and test it out with this controller as well, just because it's such a really nice controller. I mean, the difference between these two, it's night and day in my opinion. Having an actual D-pad and having those controllers with the customizable colors and stuff like that, and just the overall feel for it. I feel like if you were a kid or an adult, you would find some comfort in that controller, not this rigid thing over here with the baby buttons and the lack of the D-pad. So huge thanks to NYXI for sending me this controller for review. I really appreciate that. I'm definitely going to be using this controller as my main controller for the Switch here on out, and that's going to be docked or handheld. It feels really, really nice. The ergonomic design is, like I said, it just melts in your hands. So if you guys want to grab one of these controllers for yourself, you can check out the link in the description below to get your hands on this beautiful purple GameCube styled Hyperion Pro controller from NYXI. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about this controller. Have you ever had one in your hands before? Have you tried the GameCube variation where it has the actual GameCube button layout from NYXI? I'm really curious to know if you guys have checked that out as well, and I'm probably gonna end up picking one up myself just to check it out. If you've enjoyed the music that you've heard in the background, I highly encourage you to check out my YouTube channel. I've got a lot of video game music on there, and I play a really weird instrument called the harp guitar, so hopefully you'll get some kicks out of that. Thanks very much for subscribing, and I'll catch you guys at the very next video. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.